DJ Toasty Z, Hip Hop Made Me Do It. You already know what the fuck it is. And if you don't, now you do.
Now you know.
We're here with the one and only Korey motherfucking Costa.
What's up?
How's it going, dude?
Good, man. Good. Very happy to be here. Excited we could finally make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm glad we could finally do this. I've been talking about doing this for probably like 2 years now at this point because, I started my radio show and like you were one of the first artists I knew in Jersey, and I was like, you know what? Like I was playing your tunes on the radio, and I was like, I need to get him in for an interview. Like I've interviewed all these artists, and I haven't sat down and did an in-depth interview with Korey, and yeah, I know we were talking about. I was like, oh, you should come up to Western Mass, and we'll do a show, and we just never got to coordinating.
Bro, I wish we did. He was just showing me some artists from that area, and that scene is crazy. So at some point, absolutely something I want to make happen. Yeah. But either way, I'm glad we're finally doing it. It's a little closer to home for me, so that's nice too.
Yeah, for sure. We gotta do a Jersey show soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying now that the record is out and like that's kind of behind me. Like I'm just focused on booking as many shows as I can and just getting myself in front of as many crowds as I can. Like that's it now. Yeah,
like I said, you were the first local artist that I was exposed to through my friend Nigel, New Jersey. Shout out to Nigel.
Shout out to Feller.
And at this point, I've probably seen you perform like 3 or 4 times at the Stanhope House. Most recently, this past Friday, at the release of your new album, Skyward Spiral, the release party. So first of all, like, what did you think of that night and like the whole moment?
That night was crazy. If you weren't at that show, like, I'm sorry. Like,
you lost.
You missed out a little bit. Like, it was really one of those nights. The show definitely went better than I expected because I expected it to fall on its face. The cool thing was at the Stanhope House, I really got to give them some liberty. Like, they kind of let me put together the show I wanted.
Yeah.
I put together the lineup, the duration of the sets, the order of the whole thing. I kind of cultivated it and put a lot of thought into making a show that it's not just like, hey, telling all my friends, come watch me perform. It's like, I want to put on a show that all my friends, family, anyone who comes out can enjoy the entire time.
Yeah, top to bottom.
Exactly.
You're in charge.
I've been on shows that it's not that artists aren't talented, it's just that it's not suited, or it's just not, they're not focused, like whatever it might be. So it doesn't work out in that way.
It's an hodgepodge is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Like local artists that like, that are, it's like the bill is stacked with all these openers and, no one really cares. And
right, and no one's on the same page.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times,
lineup. Yeah.
Exactly, shows will get booked kind of with this idea of like, let's just get as many openers on as we can.
Yeah.
So they sell as many tickets as possible. We pay the opener or we pay the headliner and we still get a profit. Like that's how these shows are booked.
Yeah, it's based on making money and
right, which
is important, but
it's a business at the end of the day. But the idea is that if these openers don't have any sort of harmony or any sort of chemistry and they're just throwing the crowd left and right, high energy, low energy, all over the map, like crowd's not going to know how to feel, like there needs to be like a natural, like, what's the word? Like a momentum.
Flow.
Yeah. And like keep that momentum going. So that's kind of what I thought about when I booked everyone that I booked. And I wanted to book more artists, but I knew from my own experience, I didn't like being on a show that had like 12 artists on it. And I didn't like going to a show and watching 12 artists. So as much as I wanted to give so many people that opportunity, I kind of had to make that cutoff at some point.
Yeah, I feel you on that. How many people did you have? I only like end up sawing your set and like a couple people before it. How many people did you actually have on the lineup?
We had let me go top to bottom. We had my man Waxless, Vinny P, AJP, Non-Mineral, Ethan Ross, Trap Bang, which was Consueti and Day Bishop. Shout out Maddie Pask, who didn't make it, and myself. So 7 acts.
Okay, so it's still substantial.
But like that was the cap for me.
Yeah.
Like I think 4 or 5 is solid. But I have so many people I wanted to put on the show that like I slowly like it turned to 7.
For sure.
I mean? Like one of those things.
Yeah, I for me, like when I'm trying to like put on shows, which I want to do more, like I said, going to like I'd love to do a Jersey show or New York show at some point.
Yeah.
I think it's better to like put 4 or 5 like solid acts. Keep it to like a not too long a show and like not that much of a break in between like acts, just like 5 minutes, maybe get up in there and go. And, you know, I think in the long term, it's like in the short term, you make less money doing that when you put on shows like that, but you build your reputation for putting on good shows, and you attract, like, it creates a vibe of like, this is like a place people want to be, or these shows that are things people want to go to and repeat, versus like someone just coming out to see their favorite artist and then dipping.
Just that once.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, so if you dump all your resources into one show, like, it's not substantial. So what I try to do with this show, I definitely put my full efforts towards it, but with the idea of like, okay, this was fun. Like, now come to the next one. Yeah. You know, like, I was trying to build a culture with it, and kind of like a mood, and set that tone, not just for that night, but for future shows, so that hopefully, you know, it kind of snowballs from there. And I feel pretty good about it. So we'll see what comes of it. But definitely been kind of just super grateful for the reception it's gotten so far. Like, I knew people would hear it, but I'm definitely... more people are listening and responding than I'm used to, so that's kind of crazy. So I'm just very grateful for that in general.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And I always like to start off with most of my interviews by saying, like, asking, like, who is Korey Costa?
Who is Korey Costa, man? I'm still figuring that out. Hopefully everyone who answers that question is still figuring it out, because if they think they know...
When I interviewed Dami, he literally said the same thing. He's like, I'm still figuring it out.
But man, I am a North New Jersey-based rapper, producer, singer, amateur keyboardist, former grocery manager, current patient care coordinator. I drive a Chevy Cruze.
There you go. I know.
With a hatchback.
I was looking fresh.
If it doesn't have a hatchback, like, car loses like 10 style points, like, right off the bat. I think the hatchback really gives you like a car, like, looks great from the start, but like it can kind of have like an uneventful finish. But you get a hatchback, bro. Like, I'm sorry, I'm a sucker for a good hatchback, man. I don't know.
Yeah, you pulled up looking fresh.
That's what I'm saying.
What year is that?
That's a 2017.
Oh,
man.
you balling.
I don't play around.
Yeah, I got a 2011 Honda Accord. Gets the job done.
Gets the job done. That's all you need. Point A to point B.
Exactly.
But that hatchback, man. She's pretty.
So Korey Costa likes hatchbacks.
I really do. I really, really do.
Now, would you say, like, the origin of Korey Costa is? Just like, how'd you come up as a guy, an artist?
Okay.
What's your story?
So, musically, the first thing that I ever got involved with musically was playing the guitar. I feel like that's where most white rappers start. They played the guitar growing up, or like played the drums growing up. Like, that's kind of where it's based. Like, a lot of, and I'm totally generalizing here, but like, I didn't grow up on rap music like at that age. Like, there was like rap music that like infiltrated it, but I didn't have parents that like listened to hip hop. You know what I mean? It was just kind of whatever like broke that glass ceiling as far as popularity that would like make its way in. But so I was playing guitar, and that was 9 or 10 maybe, guitar lessons from my man Jay. Rest in peace to the great Jason Burns, who really kind of just made me not just start to learn how to write music, but more importantly, just to learn to enjoy creating music. Yeah. Or like just playing music in general. So like it kind of came from that. And from there, I kind of like transposed and self-taught piano a little bit here and there. And I really don't remember the transition. I don't remember when like writing like guitar songs and like incorporating piano like became a hip hop thing. I do know that in like 6th or 7th grade, I got Fruity Loops, FL Studio, and I was making like techno beats. Gotcha. And I was making like whatever song I was into at that time, I would like look up the like guitar tab for and like just make like a cover of it. Like, so that's what I was doing for the longest time. Yeah. I don't remember the first rap I wrote. I always try to go back and remember. I know one of the first recorded rap that I put online was over the Forever beat, the Drake, Kanye, Lil Wayne, Eminem song. And I still remember the whole 16 too. Like, I got all of that in there. That was like 2008 or 2009. and I put it online. I went on like a createalogo.com,
Mm-hmm.
and I had this animated Korey Costa with a K at the time, with this like neon purple, like glowing Korey Costa.
Yeah.
Like anyone who's like been listening for that long, like that's crazy. But
do you remember any like bars that stood out as just being, now looking back, being really cringy?
the whole thing, man. But I'll tell you what, it started at it said perfect with no practice, sharper than a cactus,
Ooh.
shielded up and ready, so I'm going to attack this. Then I say I'm joking and everyone relaxes, but they're all still jealous and they hate me more than taxes. Like,
That's not the worst first rhyme.
Right.
You know?
So like,
a lot of people are...
I already had an understanding like linguistically of like
Yeah.
adding the syllables, but the context, there was nothing there. Like, perfect with no practice wasn't true, because like that definitely wasn't the first thing I wrote. And the whole like hate me more than taxes, like I had no
You never paid taxes.
understanding of what taxes even
You were what,
meant.
like 10, you said?
Yeah, or I was like, I don't know,
13?
7th grade. I was somewhere
Yeah,
around
yeah.
there. So like I had no understanding of like taxes. I just knew they had a negative connotation. So I was like, everyone's jealous and they hate me more than taxes, but like no one's jealous of taxes. Like I don't envy anyone with taxes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was just kind of like trying to rhyme, but I remember like I wrote it on like a kitchen shopping list notepad.
Yeah.
With like a bunch of flowers in the corners, and I kept it for a very long time. I had no idea where it is now, but that was the first rap I remember writing. I don't know about anything like before that like when I started writing anything, but that's like the first one that I remember, and it just took off.
There you go.
It just took off.
Just took off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with the whole like drumming or piano, you said,
Yeah.
like people, like white kids getting into rap. I think also it's either that or like a bunch of white kids that are like rap fans. They're like, oh, I'm gonna make ironic, funny raps.
Yeah.
Just to like be like, try it out without the pressure and be like, oh wait. And then if they get validation, they're like, wait, I could actually do this and take it seriously. Like I think some people start with that ironic, funny raps, and
Absolutely.
until they get the confidence to be like, all right, taking it seriously, you know?
I definitely that year, maybe the year before in middle school, wrote like diss raps about teachers, and would like I like write them down, and I like have all this stuff planned, and at lunch like I'd never like the teachers never knew, but I would like rap it to like my friends, and I think that's where it kind of started, was like, yo, I wrote this rap about Mr. Hargett today. Like, you're never going to believe what I said about this dude. And I would, like, roast all these innocent middle school teachers who had no idea that, like, a 13-year-old was, like, deliberately picking them apart. It was really mean looking back.
Did the teachers ever see them at all? No?
I had this crazy ability.
You seemed like you would be a good kid. Like not like a teacher's pet, but like a well-behaved kid.
Yeah, I was well-behaved in the sense that, like, there was never an age that like I didn't know the line, like, and I played so close to it, but I always knew, like, I always observed close friends of mine like getting caught, like doing something, or, like getting in trouble, and I just knew like that line of like, okay, you can have so much fun behind this line, and you can mess around and be a fool without getting caught, without getting in trouble, and the detentions and all that. I wasn't a really well behaved kid. I just knew when it was too much, so I just enjoyed my time.
You seem like one of those kids that like could like has this appearance of being very, well mannered, like seemingly well behaved, and because of that, you can get away with a lot.
That's exactly it. The appearance, and like I was just this small, skinny, like scrawny, like what could he be capable of kind of mentality. Yeah. So like kind of people just kind of left me alone. Like there were so many situations that like my friends would get into like scuffles, and like I'd be there physically, but like I wasn't a part of it because like probably because like I would have got snapped in half. But mostly
no one wants
because,
to be the kid that beats up the scrawny.
Yeah, like so I kind of had that like built-in liability, which like I mean at that age I wasn't like go me, like I'm too weak to fight, but at the same time it kept me out of most conflicts. So looking back, like pretty grateful for my disposition.
Yeah, for sure.
For
sure.
That's crazy.
It's a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, for real.
What do you call it? Silver lining?
Yeah, I never looked at it like that. I never thought, like, I was, like, I never played sports. I was never involved, man. I was just so small. Yeah. I was just so fucking small. But, like, man, I always, like, didn't have an identity because of that. Because at that age, that's where your identity is. And, like, looking back, like, it's crazy how little that matters now.
Yeah.
You know, just the way that things kind of pan out.
And everyone has their thing. It's like, you might not be the sports kid, but you're the music guy, you know?
Right. Yeah. And that's cool.
And like people, that's the funny thing is like they always talk about like how athletes want to be rappers and rappers want to be athletes.
Pretty much, like, man. Like I just even like I remember like going to my friends like sports games in like middle school and high school and just being like, I just wish I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that looks so fun, and like I never feel that good running, and they make running look so like fun, and I'm like I can't connect with that because like I mean exercise is nice, but like nothing comes naturally to me. But hey,
yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
I feel you on that. I always like played sports, but maybe I wasn't sure if I didn't know how bad I was, and I just like was having fun.
Yeah.
Or if like I don't think I thought I was good, but like at a certain point, and then you're like, you get that reality check where you're like, oh yeah, I'm really bad.
Right. Absolutely.
But yeah, no, for sure, I feel that. Yeah. So yeah, was Boy Privilege your first solo project?
It was
officially?
It was like my first like thought out solo project. The guy had done mixtapes, and like some of them were like, you know, like 8 or 9 songs. Some were probably like 15 or 16, but like at that age it was kind of just like me just like throwing things at the wall.
For sure.
Boy Privilege was like the first like
that was 2014, so 4 years ago now.
4 years ago, yeah. That was the first album that I kind of like sat down and was like, okay, like I actually want to like put out a body of music that like not a concept album, but like had like reoccurring themes. And that was the first album that like I really like kind of let other people in, recorded at a few other locations, let some other artists on, you know, kind of allowed it to be taken to that level, because before then I wasn't ready for that. I think I just kind of wanted to record raps and put them out, and like whatever happened. That album I was like, okay,
seriously.
Like I feel like I have something I want to share, and if nothing else, something that I think people would enjoy listening to, and kind of put the time in to make that happen. Boy Privilege was crazy because
still some of my favorite shit.
Thank you, man. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. There's a lot of special moments on there for me, particularly musically and like sonically, and the beats, like things. I was working on a Fruity Loops demo, so I could never save my work. So and I was on like an old PC, so if the project crashed,
you were out of luck.
It was gone. So
what did you do once you completed it, though, if you can save it?
I could export it as an MP3 or like as a WAV file, so I'd have that beat then.
So it's very raw,
right?
Like the whole thing.
Yeah. So if I did that and I went back a few months later and like the snare was way too loud, it was just too bad. I can't go back in and do stems. You know, at that point it was one compressed file. But that created this crazy spontaneity. You know, this crazy like, hey, if I don't care if I spent 4 hours working on it. If the project crashed and it was gone, I'm like, oh,
yeah, you can't do anything about it.
I wasn't a hoarder about it, so I didn't have hundreds of beats lying around. I had the beats that I decided I'm gonna put enough time into this
in this moment
that I need to finish it now, and make it happen, and bounce it. And there was occasionally the times that I would leave it, go do something, pray that like my computer would stay on, it wouldn't crash, and I'd have that program open for like days, a few weeks at a time, you know, and I'd have like 3 windows of it open with like one beat from like 3 weeks ago that I still just wasn't ready for, and eventually I would just start exporting them and just using them as is. So Boy Privilege like was kind of that thing where I really embraced that, and it was well thought out, but at the same time like there was a chunk of time. A few of the songs were older, but there was a chunk of time where most of that album just happened within a few months. Yeah. And I would just like make a beat, do some crazy things to it. I don't even know how. Like I didn't have like a pad or any MIDI. Like it was all clicking and dragging. I didn't record the drums in. Every hi-hat, I was clicking and dragging every single sound manually. So that just became like almost obsessive. You know what I mean? To do all of that manually. So like pulling off like a hi-hat roll or like some crazy rhythms was so much more rewarding because I didn't just press it in. I had to go in, click and drag, listen back, nope, move that over, listen back.
Yeah. So it's like you put more work into it. It's like it's kind of dumb, but it's like
it's dumb because I put a lot more work than I would have needed to.
It's like when certain artists are like go out of their way to make it like harder to do certain things, but they're like they feel like it's. I get it, but it's also like, life would be so much easier if you know.
And for me, it wasn't even that I went out of my way to make it harder. I just, one, didn't have the resources, and two, if I did, wouldn't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
I knew no other way than a computer mouse and clicking in every single sound manually.
You were DIY.
Yeah. So like even like and there were some samples on that album and some elements of sampling, but a lot of the bass lines and the keys and anything was original composition. Again, I couldn't play it anywhere. So like if I like at that point I had some theory knowledge. If I wanted like a minor chord or a major chord, I knew that I had to like go in and click those 3 notes and hear them together. So I was never like playing and jamming out the chords I wanted. I would map them out and guess and listen back and adjust that way.
I think most people when they start making beats don't have much music theory. They're just like, clicking and figuring it as they go, and like eventually they kind of figure it out just naturally.
Just what works.
Yeah. No,
having that ear, I think, is more important than any knowledge.
Yeah, just like hearing something and be like, all right, that sounds off, or that sounds right, or that sounds off, but in a good way,
Exactly, like that sounds intentional.
Like
off.
Yeah. And a line that sticks out to me, I forget what song it is, but you say, could have been a music theorist, but instead I'm music's weirdest.
That's an old one too.
Did you take like music theory classes and stuff like that? Were you trying to do like?
Yeah, I took music theory my junior and senior year of high school, and then for my first semester of community college, while I was trying that out a little bit, and there was a love-hate relationship there because I did learn a lot more, and it gave me some cool tricks. I felt like it gave me tricks, but there was nothing fulfilling in adding so much structure to music, that like I didn't really want to get to that point where I was analyzing everything I listened to, because I still do that now, but I'll analyze it for more of a feel, and I'll analyze music for like dynamics and like how warm the bass feels, and like
you wanted it to still feel like human,
right? So I'll analyze music for like human feel and for like emotion, but I don't analyze it for like chord progressions. And I was starting to do that,
and you're like, oh, this is too
exactly.
Too much.
It became like an assignment every song, like
it's like a math problem.
Yeah, I was like, oh, you know what? I could tell they really like prolonged that suspension chord there. That's cool, but it's like, how does it make me feel? So I kind of reoriented to that. And that's where that, like, if it sounds on or it sounds off or it sounds intentionally off, there's like that third plane that a lot of people don't really tap into, that I think Boy Privilege, it like kind of lives there. There's like music that sounds right, music that sounds wrong, and music that's intentionally a little off. Yeah. And Boy Privilege for me was like me like trying to like build a house on that.
Yeah, and it was, to me, it always had a vibe of like it being weird, but not for the sake of being weird. You know how some things are trying to be weird? And
it was just like, because it could be.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Or just like people think that the weirder the music they make, it automatically makes it better. But it was like, it was very intentional, and I could see that. And it definitely had a vibe too, because it was like the keys were very like, it was a very dark tone throughout the album.
Absolutely.
And the keys were very like this very kind of eerie, almost like a squeaky, almost doesn't sound good to the ear, you know what I'm saying? Where
that's it's just... exactly. I pushed it right to that point before like it's detuned like beyond comfort, because the album itself was kind of me dealing with discomfort and dealing with identity issue and dealing with just those kinds of uneasy feelings. Yeah. So not to incite anxiety in the listener, but at the same time I wanted the music to reflect that emotion. Even if I didn't realize I was doing that at the time in hindsight, the goal was for the music to kind of reflect how I was feeling. So if I wasn't articulating it right, like some of those like brash, sounds would kind of provide that mood. For sure.
I'm just trying to see what time we're at. Yeah, I got it 2 minutes, so we should be good. And like I said, it had a very dark tone to it. And like you've been very like open, I feel like, in your music about like dealing like mental health and stuff like that. So I'm curious, like when you were recording that album, what was your mind state like? Was that like a dark place in life, or?
It definitely was, but at the same time, at that age and in that place, like, I guess I kind of saw it as, like, where I was supposed to be, or saw it as, like, an asset, you know? Like, it made me more interesting, or it made me more unique. So it wasn't depressing at the time.
Yeah.
Because at the time, I was like, this is my niche. Like, this is what I do. So I just turned every knob up, and I was like, I'm just going to be this. Yeah. But looking back, I saw how destructive it was, because I just assumed, like, that's who I was. That was my path. That was my
It's like niche. Edgy teenager
exactly,
like, feelings.
Yeah.
And you're like,
it was just angst, man.
It feels good to, like, sometimes not, like, wallow in it, but just, like, embrace it. You know?
Right. There was a sense of belonging in it, even though it's not where I should have stayed.
Yeah.
But for that time being, like, I embraced where I was, and there was some comfort in that, or some peace in the chaos, you know? Like, I tried to keep it peaceful in the chaos, and yeah, but that, like, looking back, like, definitely not a long-term life goal.
Yeah, there was some line, I forget the exact line, because I didn't write it down, but I wrote down a couple from the album where you're saying something about, like, being comfortable being, or, like, being broken, or, you know what I'm talking about? There's a line where you're saying...
On the new album.
Yeah.
Yeah, on Kick the Serpent, I say, falling in love with the notion that I am broken.
Yeah.
Which is me still struggling with that same concept of, like, finding comfort in the things that really aren't good for me, and the mindsets that really aren't good for me. But it's easy to, like, attach onto that because it is so comfortable.
For sure.
It is easy to just, like, not put effort and not, you know, try and break out. Like, just to dwell. That song's kind of just like, okay, I'm just going to dwell here for a while.
Yeah. I think also what's important, though, too, is to realize that it's okay to have those moments in life.
Absolutely.
And embrace, like, all right, this is where I'm at now. I might not be perfect, but I'm working towards it, and, like, not beat yourself up over it, you know?
Yeah, definitely coming to terms with it without keeping yourself there. You know, it's tough. Like, okay, this is where I'm at right now, and I'm okay with that. But on the flip side, I would like to get out of this. And I think that desire to get out and that desire to recover is, like, what's most important.
I'm curious because I feel like... You good?
Yeah. I had a little Wendy's earlier. Don't eat Wendy's, just don't do it.
Oh, I thought it was McDonald's.
It was Wendy's.
Oh, I misheard you.
I might have said McDonald's because I kind of clumped them all into the same regret.
Yeah.
I might have said McDonald's.
Wendy's, I feel like, though, of, like, all fat, like, if you, like, the big three, like, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, I feel like Wendy's is, like, somewhat healthier. Like, if you get a salad, like, there's healthier options at
Wendy's feels...
They have a healthier image.
And even when you eat it, it feels a little more like real human food.
Yeah.
Than, like, whatever else is from McDonald's and Burger King. And, like, I go through phases, and I'll be the first to admit, I go through phases, and there's times where I'm, like, actually pretty good, and I'm, like, drinking a lot of water, and I'm feeling pretty good about myself. But, like, even if just once, like, if it's late at night or I don't have time and I just eat fast food, like, it's so hard to break the cycle. One time, and I'm like, yo, that's all I want to eat, 3 meals a day for the rest of my life.
I know that too well because...
It's so easy, man.
When I was living in Providence, I lived, like, right down the street from McDonald's, like, walking distance.
Yeah.
And, like, I would Uber in the mornings, too. I was, like, driving Uber to pay the bills, and sometimes I wouldn't, like, take time to make breakfast, so I'd get, like... And, like, that's the one thing. I always see those, like, commercials for, like, Taco Bell breakfast, and I'm like, who? Like, that's, like, gotta be, like, the worst day to... Like, the premise is, like, start your day off right by eating Taco Bell breakfast. I'm like, that's definitely, like, the worst way to start
that's
off your day.
like low-hanging fruit. Yeah. Like, if that's what you're striving for, like, this is gonna make my day great, like, you must not have a very productive day. It'll be great
for the first hour after you eat it, and then, like, you'll be feeling it the rest of the day. You'll be sluggish. But, no, and then, like, late at night, I would always just go over there because I wouldn't have snacks in the house, and then, like, if you don't have healthy snacks, and then you're like, oh, it's right there. You know, it's like, it's so easy. And then you get, like, it's cravings. It's, like, actual cravings, like, beyond, like, you know, it's, like, chemical shit. So. Yeah.
I have a crazy fountain soda Coca-Cola addiction. Like, for whatever reason, in that kind of cup, with a whole lot of ice through a straw, is, like, incredible to me. It's, like, incredible.
Is it, like, a nostalgic factor to you or something?
There might be some sense of that in it, but, like, drinking, like, a Coca-Cola in a can, I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like, for whatever reason, just in that exact form, it's, like, so much better.
See, for me,
I don't know what that is, but...
I like, I'm not that big a fan of that because they always put too much ice, and then you don't get as much soda. It's already cold enough that you don't really need
That's
ice.
Probably why I'm, like, hooked on it, is because of the portion.
You justify it. It's just bigger.
So the portion, like, they put so much ice that, like, I always want more. You know, you never drink like a soda from fast food and you're like, oh, that was too much, I'm gonna toss this.
Yeah.
Like with that ice, they always leave you wanting more.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
I've been getting into like I used to hate I used to like really dislike seltzer, and now I can't get enough of it.
Dude, I can't cross that bridge, man. I've tried. I just don't know what it is. I just don't enjoy it.
You got it, dude. You gotta try fucking what's the brand? LaCroix.
I hear all about it, and I've definitely
those cans enough are like it's all marketing though. I'm sure if I like took like a normal seltzer versus that, I'd be like couldn't tell the difference.
Right, but that's just the seltzer.
It's attractive.
Right now. Yeah, I don't know. Like even like sparkling water, I'm just like, why? Like I have a Pellegrino, I get like the aesthetic, but I'm like,
Pellegrino's sometimes too bubbly though.
Yeah.
Like that's more like it's like there's levels of the bubbles. Like I'll do it for like drinks because then it's like if you do like seltzer with vodka and like just some lime, you know, like
right. See, I can see it as a mixer, but I kind of think that's its primary purpose. Like seltzer by itself. If I'm gonna drink seltzer, I just want to drink water.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It could be like if you're like if you're into soda, it can be like a good alternative. I feel like
absolutely. Soda's got to go for sure. So
for sure,
I have to give seltzer another swing.
There you go. I'll put you on to seltzer.
Yeah, put me on the seltzer game, bro.
Shout out Tony Seltzer. You already know.
Hey.
Let's see. Oh yeah, so I was also curious because I feel like the vibe of like Skyward Spiral is very different from like Boy Privilege.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm curious, like, what's changed? It's like the exact opposite almost. Like, you know, like Boy Privilege is very dark, and Skyward Spiral is very like, I don't know, uplifting. I would say. I don't know. Oh no, maybe that's too extreme a word, but like, you know, a much lighter tone. Cool. And I'm curious, like, what's changed since that point in your life, either both musically, but also just, you know, in your life in general.
I mean, I really think, it's crazy because like you can hear these two projects, and like you can hear the difference. Like I grew up, like sonically I changed, like like rhythmically I changed, contextually I changed.
Yeah. But
the crazy thing that like doesn't really get showcased are those years in between. That's something I've been thinking about lately.
Gap.
Right.
Like going back to like capturing a moment in
your
life.
And like those years in between explain so much more than either album ever could, you know? And with Skyward Spiral, I did my best to like talk on things and to touch on certain topics that are important to me. But those years in between, like that's where it all happened. It's like, for me, like Boy Privilege was like this place, right? And Skyward Spiral and this album today, like that's where I am now. But
it's like the in between is like
everything in between was so meaningful, but there was so much growth and so many growing pains and so many uncomfortable things in between, and just so much left and right that releasing an album in that would have never made sense.
Yeah.
And besides the album I did with Non-Mineral Autobahn, which was awesome, and I'm so grateful we got to do that. That was more of like a
Bitches to Go. Is that the...
Yeah, that's the one. Shit. That's the one, man.
Everyone.
Man, see, that was kind of me, like that. Like, yeah, that I'm definitely still a fan of that album. Yeah, exactly. That like so. Besides that album, because I kind of got to just have fun.
Yeah.
Which was cool. You know, like I definitely put a lot.
Nothing too serious. Like,
right.
Nothing that's like has a lot of weight on your soul.
Exactly.
You know, just something to put out.
There was some like venting, like contextually, but nothing that like I was like ready to tackle these heavy topics.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I loved about it. It gave me a break from that. But anytime I tried to start an album in those years between, I was just growing and moving and changing.
Yeah.
So a few weeks would go by and I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want that anymore. You know, I was doing like, I had like a pop album halfway done, just doing piano songs. Yeah. I'm like, nah, I don't want that.
Well, you're doing there was like at one point we were doing a bit of instrumentals. I don't know if that was in the in-between or...
Yes, it was. Because that was the thing. Like, I was making so much music, but I wanted to talk about so many different things. So I just started putting out beat tapes.
Yeah.
And I was like, this will just suffice for now. But so Skyward Spiral is kind of, and I got a long way to go. I could feel it. But it's kind of like the next checkpoint.
Yeah.
You know, the spot where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to talk again. I kind of want to catch people up who have been invested over these years, which is crazy. Even if there's like 4 or 5 of them, that means so much.
Yeah.
But like, I kind of just, all of the identity issues that made Boy Privilege so chaotic have been not resolved, but have been worked on in a way that made Skyward Spiral more goal-driven and more mission-oriented than just chaos.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah, and
if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I get it. And there's definitely a duality between the two albums that, but it still feels like it tells a story, like a second chapter, to the same story. And
there was a small, I can't remember even if it was intentional or not, but between the two album covers, there's like a small, for me in the back of my head, connection between me being upside down and my head is tilted on Boy Privilege, and then I'm right side up for Skyward Spiral and my head is still tilted in a similar angle. And it almost makes me wish that Boy Privilege was titled Downward Spiral, because then it would have really justified the switch. Yeah. But the idea was that a downward spiral is when your life is in chaos. In my interpretation, in this version, in this world, a downward spiral is like chaos, and you're just headed down, and it's getting worse. The Skyward Spiral is like, my life is chaos, but it's getting better. That was really
it's
the
chaotic,
switch.
But you're ascending.
I'm moving in the right direction amidst the chaos. So like I can't change my surroundings, I can't really control anything. No one can really control anything. But my destination is a lot better than it was based on my behavior.
For sure. And before we get into the album, wanted to ask you, you were saying that like almost like at the release party, you were saying like a year ago you almost quit rapping. So it was like that was like kind of the in between.
Yeah,
talking about?
There was a lot of back and forth, man. Namely, like about a year ago, I put out a song called "Good News Only," and I'm very happy with how that came out. Shout out my man King Named Tut for producing that with Money Montage, and AJP for recording it. Made it sound crazy, but I just wasn't in the right place. So like a few months went by, and like I was kind of on this like validation chase. So like that song came out, and I was on top of the world. A few weeks went by, and I was like, "Oh, no one's listening anymore. What's the point?" Like I was rapping. I was rapping for the response, rapping for the payoff.
Yeah, not for the sake of rapping,
and not because I enjoyed to do it. So there was a point where I was like, if I keep doing this halfway, I'll never be happy with the results. So it was like I either got to go full speed ahead or I got to just stop. Yeah. And at that point, for whatever reason, whatever doubt was in there, whatever was going on, I was like, all right, I'll just stop. Because I'm like, I can't go full speed ahead. I'm not focused enough. There's too many obstacles, this and that. Yeah. So many different doubts that it was like, ease off.
That's kind of what I did with hip hop. Maybe do it to an extent, just like taking a little break.
Exactly.
I always tend to go back to it, but it's just like at this point, I can't go full throttle on it while I'm figuring out other things in life.
Exactly. And I'm at a point now where realistically, like, there's too many different things going on in my life, all good things, all positive things, that I can't just drop everything and just run full speed ahead at music. But I'm in a place now where I feel like even if realistically I don't have enough time and energy to put towards it, I'm still going to use as much as humanly possible. Yeah. So that was kind of the decision. And my man Con Sweetie, who produced the entire record, by the way, I added a couple things, some keys, a few arrangements, but the bulk work and the mixing, like last minute mixing, because I took forever to record it. That's why the album barely made it out. It's gonna be on.
It's not on Spotify yet.
It's gonna be on there any day, because just the other day I like did the final distribution and spread it out into the world. So any day now it's going to pop up, and that'll be great. That would have happened if I'd finished the album on time. But my man had to like be up all night mixing songs, sending them to me. I'm like, yo, like, can you just bring this vocal back like a millisecond to the left like 12 times in a row? So like big shout out to Con Sweetie and Trap Bang for like really making the album possible. So that was a big part of it too, was the burden of producing and mixing being lifted. Yeah. So I could just focus on what I wanted to say.
Yeah, you were just like, I feel that.
Because I went from Boy Privilege, which I made every single beat, recorded all of it, the whole 9 yards, to an album where like, sure, I'm the main event with the vocals, but everything else happening around me was done away from me. Yeah. And I guess maybe there was always a sense of guilt or a sense of I'm not good enough to have other people working on this for me, so I need to do it all myself, or a sense of pride that no one can do it as good as me. Yeah. It was somewhere in there.
Complex. Yeah,
exactly. It was definitely that sort of dilemma. But like, man, I couldn't be happier with the way it came out, and like definitely like a lesson in humility to like let other people help you with your work.
Yeah, and it also just definitely has a much more polished feel to it rather than like, I love the rawness and like the weirdness and the offness of Boy Privilege, but this has a much more polished feel. Even like when you're singing and stuff, it feels more like less, I don't want like sporadic is a strong word, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
Much more like,
you're right.
You know?
Definitely right. A lot of that's because, well, one thing was that I wanted Boy Privilege to sound gritty, and the other reason was that was all I was capable at that time. I couldn't make a polished sound, so I was like, let me just double down on the distortion and double down on the gritty. So,
yeah, and so for the listeners that haven't heard Skyward Spiral yet, which you know, I'm sure a lot of my listeners haven't because I haven't really done a great job of promoting it.
Yeah,
but,
this guy. Listen to it.
What can they expect when they hear it?
Dude, you can expect the first 7 or 8 songs to just be really, really hard hitting, upbeat, a lot of fun, some heavier topics, but like it's fun. It's the first music I made that I'm like excited to hear it and not like I need to like be in a zone to hear it kind of thing. So, in my opinion, it's a fun listen. It's confident, but it's vulnerable. I'm trying to navigate that leeway. And then somewhere after track 8 takes a little spin, gets a little more introspective. I tackle some heavier topics. Definitely some things that are heavier and things that are tougher for me to touch on. But at the same time, I tried to incorporate like some peace of mind. At least at the end of each one of those tracks, there was a spot of like, because on Boy Privilege, like looking back, like I'd write a song and be in a bad place and it's fine, but I would just leave it there. I'd leave it like that. And I could imagine for the listener, like how often you want to hear a song like that? Like, sure, it's therapeutic, but if there's no like, okay, at the end of the day, I'm gonna be okay. I'm working through this. I'm gonna get better. I think if you don't incorporate that somewhere, you're risking kind of misdirecting the listener a little bit with like, things are really bad right now and that's that. You know, like, one, like, depending on the person, they might not want to hear that, or two, like, that might be detrimental to them if they're anything like me and music is impressionable on them and music has an impact on them. I had to think about what impact would I want my music to make if it impacts somebody, you know? So sure, I want to be honest about my struggles. I want to be honest about what I'm battling, but I don't want to leave it at that, you know, because at that point, like, and it's not about, you know, making a rap album that's like a self-help book, but it's just being more comfortable with wanting to get better and wanting to improve your situation, because that's seen as corny in an industry that's more about being destructive. And I get it. I get the edgy. I just did it, you know. I get it. I understand the appeal of embracing where you're at, and you should be okay with it, but you shouldn't be complacent.
For sure.
It's like, this is where I am right now, and that's fine, and it hurts, and that's fine, but I would like to improve.
For sure.
And I think that's really all that changed with Skyward Spiral, was that desire to improve, you know?
Yeah. Like, and one thing I noticed, like, at first I was looking at it as like, oh, it feels like there's a bit of like a religious connotation to the album. And then I kind of sat down and I listened to the whole thing, and I felt like it was more than just a slight thing. Like, there was multiple things I could point out.
Absolutely.
Like, no idols, just the concept, you know, just talking about idols. You had a line on Stop Spinning where say, Skyward Spiral, when I die, you'll have to, wait, I forgot a word.
Have to use a rotary.
I forgot an E. Have to use a rotary. R.I.P. the old me, got me feeling brand new.
Yeah.
So it's like the concept of that old you dying, kind of like rebirth. Not saying that you're Jesus, but
not in that sense, but
you know,
a spiritual rebirth for sure. It's funny, that line, that was an accidental double entendre. Skyward Spiral, when I die, I'll have to use a rotary. I was talking about a rotary phone because it spirals. So I meant Skyward Spiral when I dial.
Oh, when I dial. Like, I didn't even get
that. Yeah. So I listened back and I was like, that sounds like I said when I die, I'll have to use a rotary.
Did you say dial though?
I say dial. Like I meant dial.
Oh, okay.
And like I listened back.
It just like It's just a beautiful coincidence that you're
yes,
talking about.
It was a complete accident.
Yeah.
But like I'm so happy it worked out that way because I listened back in the recording and I'm like, wow, that really sounds like When I Die. Mm-hmm. But I meant just When I Dial. Like it was meant to be such a lighter line, but like it ended up having this like thing. It's funny that you picked up on that. But yeah, that whole hook, the whole Got Me Feeling Brand New, coming right out of Idols at the beginning of the album is just kind of like embracing that renewal and embracing that, hey, like things are changing and things are improving in my life, and I don't want to be like, what's the right word? I don't want to be ashamed of that. I had like a survivor's guilt in my head. Like when I started to like kind of improve and things started to heal in me, I felt bad because I knew how many people still struggle. So I almost felt guilty that like I was feeling better when other people aren't. But I kind of got to a point that it's like, I'm not trying to brag about being in a good place. I'm trying to
uplift others.
Right. And I'm trying to sell this cooler place in a sense. That sounds really cheesy, but you know what I mean? I'm trying to be like, it actually can happen. And like, you actually can like improve and be in a better state of mind. And there's nothing wrong with being there. Don't feel guilty, and don't feel like because you've been depressed or because you've been whatever that like, I don't know, that's your identity or that don't give it more power than it has,
Yeah, you shouldn't feel guilty about being happy either.
Exactly.
Because other people are unhappy.
Exactly. Yeah.
You should just work to help those around you,
right.
lift them up.
And that's what I'm trying to do because there's so much, so many broken things in this world that it's easy to be like, how can I be happy when this is happening and these people are suffering? And like that might be valid, but I think it's important to invest your energy in what you can change. Like we were talking earlier, like sometimes you got to bring it back and focus on the simple things. Yeah. Like you can't change the world.
Don't reinvent the wheel. Just
you
can all focus on what's in front of you and you can control.
Exactly. Like you can have such a bigger influence on a smaller thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's such a more feasible goal that like those small changes could branch out and make a much bigger change than just shooting for the stars every time.
Yeah, you really have to like I don't know what the word is, but like break it down and like go backwards. There's like a good word I'm looking for that I can't find, but like when I started hip hop and do it, I wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna make like this I'm gonna make this big Western like I'm gonna make this huge radio show and I'm gonna interview all these artists. I just started doing shit,
Yeah.
And then I evolved and I was like, oh, I can make it bigger by interviewing artists and like putting it on YouTube rather than spending 8 hours a week editing music and making it clean for the radio. And
right.
Like, you just figure it out as you go and like how you can expand it and like you just work hard at what in that moment. You don't think like you think in the grand scheme, but only in the only after the fact.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
But yeah, no, there was like a couple other references I picked out. Like you talked about like Spirit in the Sky, When I Die, Call Me Norman. So like I said, more like Spirit references. And
absolutely.
First of all, that's a great song.
Thank you.
Well, your song too.
Oh no, Spirit in the Sky is.
I got that the first time I heard that was actually Longest Yard.
Yeah,
that movie,
bro. Like even just like like that song. That's a song that like I strive to like be in that mood that song exemplifies, which is like this fearlessness of death and like this comfort of like when I'm gone, like I'm in a better place. And like even sonically, like the guitars on that song like exemplify that, like almost an eagerness to like be somewhere better, and that's just crazy to me.
You also made references to what is it? Is it this name? Kick the Serpents Out? Is that the name of the song?
Kick the Serpent Out. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So talking about like serpents, I feel like that has a large religious context too.
Absolutely.
And like inner demons and.
Absolutely. I think. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, you go.
No. With that song, that was really me. Okay. There's a place where you need to be held accountable for what you do. Mm-hmm. Always.
Yeah.
But there's also a place where I've kind of looked back and thought like, okay, like maybe I'm not as bad as I think I am, or I'm not as screwed up as I think I am. And like, maybe I just need to believe that more. And like,
I always think I use the phrase like, or I thought of this is like, you want to forgive others or forgive yourself, but don't never excuse yourself.
Right, exactly.
So like you realize you've done something bad and like forgive yourself for it, but don't like make excuses why you did it. Just like recognize it was bad and like not let it happen again.
Exactly. That song, Kick the Serpent Out, is really me coming to terms with how I treated people in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And me kind of, in a sense, pleading to grow beyond a point of ever acting that way again.
Yeah.
The song is really me dealing with the kind of the guilt and the regret that comes with how I've treated people,
mm-hmm.
the temptation to continue to treat people that way, and the hope that I'll kind of grow beyond that. Because I think I've, for the most part, grown from a place that I'm really treating people that way, but like we all act on things,
mm-hmm.
and then you take that a step back, and it's just the things we think about, and like if we're all being honest, like the things that we spend some time thinking about can be pretty screwed up. So like,
for sure,
it's even trying to just like break that out. Like Kick the Serpent Out is like I want to be freed. I want to be released from like just any of this toxic energy, you know what I mean? And like kind of hoping that like I can reach a point where I don't feel as easily like as much growth as there's been. I don't feel far from who I was.
Yeah.
You know, like a few reckless decisions and a few days of isolation and I'm still the same person.
Yeah.
It's kind of that constant battle, and that song is just
like it's like you can slip back into it. It's like it's like addiction or anything. It's
exactly.
Like, all it takes is like that tipping point.
Right, and it's that song was kind of almost me talking to myself and maintaining that sense of urgency. Like like I'm running and like I've gone a far distance, but like my enemies aren't that far behind.
Yeah.
So I can't just coast now. I have to stay sharp and like stay alert. And that was actually a big theme of this album, was me, now that I'm in a place that I'm happier, it's like staying smart and not, you know, being reckless.
Yeah.
Which is just so easy.
For sure.
So, you know.
Yeah, I picked out some more references, but I won't read them all. But yeah, I mean, like that's one thing I want to ask you though, is like, is religion something that you've recently like turned to, or you seem like someone that might have been like, I don't want to assume, but like kind of anti-religion as a teenager, and like kind of come to. I
think, and this is reaching a little bit.
Yeah.
But like if I had to like hyper analyze a younger me, I think that person, and I could even probably pick out a few like 2015 Facebook statuses that support my opinion.
Yeah.
But I think a younger me wasn't anti-spiritual. I think a younger me was envious of people who had that. Yeah. Because I always, at those ages...
I think I remember you posting a Facebook status that pretty much said that.
Yeah.
At some point
I'm trying to think of one. I know there was a point where like I identified as like agnostic because I couldn't make up my mind.
Yeah. And
I was so jealous of people who could. I was like, how do you have this faith in something that in everything you're taught seems so abstract? You know what I mean? But I think a lot of the struggles I went through, especially through boy privilege and just kind of me battling with how like absurd life felt, like life can just seem so just kind of pointless a majority of the time. Like why am like these mundane tasks? Like what am I striving towards? Like what's the point of like my actual existence and that kind of thing? And like looking back, like I don't know if I was ever anti. I think I took that stance because I was frustrated and I was envious of that. So I wanted to bash that because I was angry at it.
It's the same as like edgy, if it fits into that.
Exactly. Yeah, man.
Angst.
Yeah, boil it all down. I was just an 18-year-old who was mad at the world, who had the world in his hands. Yeah. Like my life has been so fortunate. That's why it was called boy privilege. Like the whole privilege aspect of every element of my life. And it was kind of like me almost poking fun at myself for being so miserable in my circumstances, you know?
And some of those songs that I think of, like songs like Luxury, was that more self-critical or critical of others, do you think?
There was a duality to it. There was a therapeutic sense of like getting my frustrations out about the world while still being honest about me. Like the hook in Luxury, that was like, you're such a privileged boy. Like I'm talking to me, but like I was also hoping to maybe get a few other people who weren't.
A few of our friends that are fucking around still.
Yeah. And not that there's anything wrong with, you know, having a fortunate situation. It's more about just being appreciative of it.
Yeah, not taking it for granted.
That's all it was ever about, was being appreciative of it. And I wasn't. And that's where the guilt came from. I felt guilty that I didn't appreciate my privileges. Instead of just appreciating them, I wasn't healthy enough to do that. So I was just guilting myself instead of saying, you know what, I'm grateful. You know, I'm just grateful.
It's like the whole. It's like people with the like white guilt, where they're like feel bad about being white,
right?
Instead of just like using their privilege to help elevate others and like be a good person and like not feeling bad for themselves.
Because at the end of the day, like it's so important to acknowledge that privilege, but the whole guilt thing is narcissistic in itself. Like, oh, I feel so sorry that I'm white and other people aren't, so I'm just gonna dwell in how much that sucks for them. Like, that's still a selfish stance. You know what I mean? Like, being appreciative and utilizing your platform is so much better than feeling guilty and self-destructing for the sake of, I don't deserve my privilege, so I'm going to degrade myself. That doesn't elevate anyone. Bringing yourself down.
It's like you have to help yourself before you can help others.
Right.
And some people, like, try and, like, bring themselves down because they feel like it makes them more relatable, or
exactly.
Like they want to be relatable to these people. Like this,
it's
you
crazy.
Know what I'm saying? Like
I do.
I don't want it to come off the wrong way, but like
no, it's
they
fine.
want to like, like they want to be more relatable when in reality they could help like lift others up instead of like dwelling with people.
Right. Woke white. Right. Yeah. Here's the issue with woke white, because you get this mentality of I'm gonna lower myself because I'm too privileged. So you're thinking, I'm up here and other people are here. So even with that woke whiteness, you're still considering yourself. So it's a tricky.
Someone had that conversation with me where like they'd rather like it's someone like didn't like the term ally. Like it's like I'd rather like not you refer to yourself as an ally and just like fellow human being. Like an ally just seems like, you know, it's like an othering, you know, where it's just like it makes it weirder than it is.
It's still separate.
It has to be,
Being an ally is like, I've come to help on your mission.
Yeah.
Like I'm another species. There's still a separation that just makes me uncomfortable. So I just kind of choose not to talk about it at all, because not talk about it like it's not an issue, but just know my place. You know
when to speak.
Exactly. And like my opinion on the matter
doesn't matter.
As a white guy really isn't relevant, man. I don't get to choose how to, like, even right now I'm talking about other white people, but I'm still forming and enforcing an opinion on something that I just really have no say in.
Yeah, for sure. And it's
I'm
also
always
weird.
checking
Like
myself.
I did an interview where I was like interviewing this other guy that does like, he actually uses hip hop to teach about racism.
Right.
And we were just talking about racism for a while, and it just feels weird when you have two white guys in the room talking about racism.
Exactly. like we're like, here's the way it is, here's how it works. Like
it's like we don't know shit.
No, we don't. And it's a good reminder. Yeah. It's healthy to talk about, but it's a healthy reminder to know that at the end of the day we really have no say in that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we went on a little tangent there, but
yeah, where were we?
We were talking about religion, and then we got into racism.
But yeah. So I found God. I found God somewhere in those chunky years in between.
Go.
I got as far as I could right before I made it. And there were just a lot of emotional things going on in my life. And, you know, I'd always believed in demons. I think demons are all over boy privilege. Yeah. And I think that album was me, like, making friends with my demons. And Skyward Spiral is just kind of me making them my enemies. You know, it's just me saying, like, I just can't live this way anymore. There's another way.
Well, yeah, even like the Skyward Spiral, I think in the religious context, it takes on a bit of a different meaning too, just like ascending to God. You know?
Absolutely, and I definitely thought of that interpretation, which was why I was happy about the spiral, because I think that when people take on I'm not big into the concept of religion.
Mm-hmm.
But when people take on like a spiritual stance, there can be like a holier than thou type thing going on. Like, I'm better.
Yeah,
like it's easy to like get this kind of complex and get this ego thing going.
Yeah.
So like I think like ascension is like super arrogant. For me, like that's why I like the idea of a spiral. Like I'm still a mess.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything.
But you're moving up.
God's just doing work
He's
now.
just dragging you along.
Yeah. That's really what it was like in Loophole, I say
I probably wrote it down too. You say
I drag myself down, you lift me back up.
Yeah.
And that was the idea of the spiral, was that like God has my best interests in his mind, but I'm like, nah, I know. Like I know what I need. And like so that's the dragging down. And like so the spiral is like that I'm still like I'm a mess. Like otherwise it'd be like a straight path up. But that spiral, you know, could mean a lot of different things. Like I like the idea. You know, you think spiral, you just think like this. I'm not trying to get into
like a twister.
Right, I'm not trying to even get into like geometry here, but like it's not necessarily like it's skyward, but it can take a lot of different directions,
it's
up, down, left, and right.
Yeah, it's not
so like exactly, and that's kind of what I'm feeling is that like my ultimate destination is up, but it's still gonna be a mess until
it's like
then.
falling forward, or
right?
Failing forward, you
yeah,
know? Where you're like taking action. And you might be failing, but like you're failing in a way that's pushing you forward.
Right, it's forward progression.
It's like when you fail at something, when you fail because you're trying to achieve a big goal and then you land further forward. You know, it's like the whole saying, like, I feel like when you were a kid, like they're like, shoot for the stars because then or shoot for the moon because then you'll land by the stars or some shit like that.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, hey, even like I'm still messing up all the time. Like there's nothing better about me. I just have a better.
You're just doing stuff though, at least. So you're like, at least. Like inaction is always like not the right answer.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
No.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
And like trying, honestly, like is harder than not trying. It's kind of scarier. You know, like I said, when you just embrace where you're at and you just dwell in it, like it sucks and it hurts, but it's comfortable.
I know exactly what you're saying. It's easier to it's sometimes like the hell that you know is more comfortable than fighting for a life you want to live.
Exactly.
You mentioned the Michael Shea story.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear about that.
That's very real, man.
Yeah.
All right, so my friend Ryan, it was his birthday. I don't know if it was the night of or if it was the weekend, and but it was May. It was May of this year, and this friend of mine, Mo, who was going to Rutgers. He had a friend, and he told us this day, we were just going to go out to Rutgers or even Morristown. Like, there was no big plan. And he told us about a friend who all year, all semester, or whatever, had been telling him, like, you know, like, I work at SNL. We have these after parties, like, late. And, like, you got to come. It's crazy. Sorry, I'm letting everyone know in advance. I'm definitely burping into the mic.
Then the Wendy's?
Because of the Wendy's. So... He'll either edit out those burps or like maybe we'll leave them.
No, we keep it raw. We keep it.
So
yeah.
You guys, if you've been dealing with them this whole time and I'm just acknowledging it now, I apologize.
They're not loud. They're just like hiccups.
I just realized they're probably.
I don't hear them.
Okay.
It's just more like a hiccup. You know? Like
I'm trying to internalize it. Anyway, my friend Mo had a friend. I already apologized because I don't remember the kid's name. It might have been Ryan. It might have been.
It's irrelevant.
Something else.
He's a good kid.
He was a really good guy. So thank you to him. So we went to the after party, which was cool, but like the after party didn't start until like 2.
Yeah.
And the after party didn't start until 4 a.m. So we went to this speakeasy in the city, and the password to get into this place, I'm probably allowed to say this. It's been months. You think I could say it? I'm gonna say it. I'm kidding. The password to get into the speakeasy was having problems with your Android or having trouble with your Android. So if you walked up and you said
like
that,
an SNL related like party only in the speakeasy?
Yeah. So you had to know the password, and that was the password. I'm sure they changed their passwords. If they don't, then go walk around the city screaming that and see how it pans out for you.
Every speakeasy that you find.
Yeah, eventually you'll get into one. But yeah, this place was kind of insane, man. I had like it was clearly like a very older building, and like the whole like speakeasy, like secret bar, like all of that, like behind a library bookcase, like always just didn't seem real to me. And I walked in and I'm like, this is crazy. And it's like 4 a.m. and nobody's there. And I'm like, this is what this was the big moment.
Yeah.
Like, so at that point, like we had already been out and we're tired, but like we're just kind of coasting through. And sometime around 4:45, 5 o'clock, we knew there was a train coming, so we're like, all right, let's head back. And just as we're starting to consider that, the place fills up.
Yeah.
At like 5 in the morning. Like the climax of our night was like as the sun was coming up. And like I'm not one to like really sensationalize like fame and celebrity and anything, but being engulfed in this that one night was pretty surreal. And so there were definitely some SNL faces there. I don't watch that often, so I couldn't name that many. But I knew right away that I saw Michael Che. And it's Michael Che, by the way. I say Michael Che on the record.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know at the time when I recorded it. So I just decided to leave it because I was like, that was my version of the story, was that I met Michael Che. In reality, I met Michael Che. But it's the small things in the details. So whoever's been listening and noticed that, like, I know I said the guy's name wrong. If he ever hears it, like, you know, we'll have a good laugh about it. But here was the thing. Like, obviously, like, a few of my friends and me, like my friend Ryan saw him, and it was like, yo, like, I can't believe it, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, you got to be cool in that kind of environment.
It's like
we were talking about this earlier.
Like, when you're dealing with rappers, is like, don't geek out. Treat him like a person.
Exactly. So that was kind of my goal. I was like, the whole time, like, I'm not even going to say what's up. He's just here enjoying himself. But I was thinking more about it, and I'm like, yo, like, nah, I want to meet this dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to make a big scene, but I do want to meet this guy and, like, shake his hand. So that's pretty much what I did. I don't even remember what I said. I know in part of it, I, like, apologized. I was like, I know, like, I'm going to do that thing that everyone says they're not going to do and then do it anyway, which is how everyone treats celebrities. They say, I'm not going to be that person that makes you take a picture, but can't we just take that picture? I didn't make him take a picture. I didn't. I knew, like, word of mouth would just have to do. I didn't have any pictures because that was the best I could do to still treat him like a human being and not like, you know,
it's like when you're working, it's like the people that like, as soon as they meet someone, they're taking a picture with them versus like the people that are working with them every day and like actually making big like networking moves with them.
Right.
They don't feel the need like, oh, let me take a picture with you because they know they have a relationship
that
goes beyond Instagram, you know?
So I pretty much just went up and I had my whole, hey, I'm sorry for bugging you speech. And then I was pretty much like, my girlfriend would be very upset if I didn't introduce myself to you. It's kind of how I pinned it.
Yeah.
So like, which was totally fake because it's the truth. Like, she was excited for me, but I did it for me.
Yeah.
I just had to take the attention away so that I just seemed like this cool, casual guy, which wasn't true. I was like shaking, bro. I was like, I get starstruck. I'll be the first to admit that. But another hiccup. So I do that, and he goes, Korey, my man, you are a gentleman. Thank you. Daps me up, and I played it so cool, and we walked out of that place, and then I must have filmed, like, 10 videos, like, walking through the city with, like, the sun coming up behind me. My boy eating
like
halal.
Six or
like,
seven at this
slumped,
point.
eating halal. Shout out to Mo, slumped. And I'm like this, and I'm like, I just met Michael Che. I'm saying his name wrong. I had no idea. I just found out. But, yeah, so Michael Che called me a gentleman. Well, Michael Che called me a gentleman. In the speakeasy I met him in. Mo had a friend that could get us in. Like, very true.
For sure.
So I was excited about that. I had to share that story.
Yeah, that was fire.
Yeah.
That was fire.
It was pretty insane.
One random thing that I was going to bring up earlier. I noticed that, like, on the song You Make Earth Less Painful for Me, you like, censored the F word. Like,
yeah.
Well, I was curious why you chose to do that compared to...
There's actually a few subtle spots on the record that words are censored, but they were like mid-verse and they were like a little quicker, so I don't know if everyone picked up on them. But there's a handful throughout that I decided to do that. And that was a last-minute decision. Shout out to Dave Bishop on Wilderness. Trap Bang is on Wilderness, track 7. He didn't know until like the day he was going to record his verse. And like, I realized as a rapper how important rhyme schemes are. And this dude ends his rhyme scheme, and then we had to censor it. And like, linguistically, I think it sounds great. I'm going to tell you what, Dave Bishop, you still sound amazing on that record. But I realized going into it that like, that's not really a hip-hop thing to do, you know? But it was a tough decision, and the decision I made was pretty simple, was that I have some things on this record I'm excited for people to hear, and maybe hear for the first time, or maybe hear in a way that affects them for the first time, or maybe not. Maybe it plants a seed that they don't think about for a decade. But I just didn't want there to be any roadblocks. and I just thought that could be one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like not just in like the sense of like a PG-13 element, because I definitely think there's topics on the album that are heavy that I couldn't censor. But as far as the vocabulary, I mean, for the most part, I just have the option of writing something different.
Yeah.
But in a few of those spots, it was like, this is what I wrote. This is how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
So I still want to express that, but I just don't want it to impede on anyone getting the opportunity to listen, or it being featured on this or being featured on that. And like when you were doing the radio and we had to do clean edits, it was like, I don't want to have to worry about that.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, the explicit versions exist somewhere, and like maybe somewhere down the line, like that can be
But
released,
did the whole, I didn't feel like the whole album was clean, was it?
It was.
Oh, maybe I just didn't notice it.
And see, that's kind of the thing. That's kind of like,
maybe I just it's weird. It's like I only picked up on the edit,
right,
that one word, but
because it sticks out like that.
I guess I just assumed it was not clean.
Had it not been edited, you would probably think I'd curse through the whole album. It's just that one kind of sticks out. And like I said, I almost made the decision to just say something different, because it's not like an intentionally clean album. Like I've reached a point where I don't even really think about doing that when I write.
Yeah.
I think about it like being out in public, or, you know, like I'm out in public, like in front of strangers, I'm probably not going to curse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the idea for me is like, if my music's being played out in public somewhere, it's not going to curse. Mm-hmm. So it was just kind of a decision.
It's like sometimes curse words do a good job, because they're powerful words, to like enhance a meaning or enhance a, you know, the impact of a delivery. Right. And other times they're overused and hinder the message.
And there's a portion of me that thinks that reversing it, especially in You Make Earth Less Painful for Me and the few others that we kind of tweaked, it does kind of soften the blow that using those words means. This was a debate that I went for a long time. So sure, a part of me is like, yeah, like it would have hit harder if I just, you know? Yeah. And like, so yeah, like there's part of me that feels that way, but the decision to make it not accessible, like radio friendly, just accessible in the sense that wouldn't stop someone from hearing it if they just saw the little explicit or whatever the situation is. Yeah. Taking away that roadblock, making this music more accessible and more readily available to people was more important than me getting to curse. Yeah. You know? So for me, like, it was about being a little selfless in that.
For sure.
And every time I hear that part, I'm like, like it would hit me harder if it was forward, but it's a sacrifice, man. And it's such a worthwhile sacrifice to know that someone who may not have listened to that album for that kind of reason will hear it and feel encouraged or anything, you know? So, it's a worthwhile sacrifice.
And I really only have one last question, and that's like, what's next for Korey Costa?
Dude, I didn't expect the reception I got at that show. I did not expect the reception I got on this album. It was incredible. So
you dancing up there? It was fire.
Yeah, dude, I had a really good time.
Drake, you know?
Yeah, you know? Doing God's Plan live was insane. That was a first and last. That was kind of a moment that I was like, a lot of people came out to the show. A lot of people who may not know any of my music. So, like, here's your moment. Yeah, kind of thing.
Well, because also like went a little longer than planned. So it's like if you throw in that fun little moment.
Exactly. Like, that was the thing. The show went later than we thought. So I'm like, because that was something I had ready. Mm-hmm. And even on stage, I remember saying, like, I don't know if anyone's going to care for this, but, like, let's run it. Yeah. And, like, people started singing, and I was like, I'm just going to let it be. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, so I'm so grateful and I'm so appreciative, but I didn't think this album was going to do what it's doing right now. So it kind of changed the game plan. I was kind of just going to go back in and keep making music and keep working. And now, like, I'm going to spend some more time with this album, you know, like, whatever that evolves into.
We need some Korey Costa music videos.
Dude, that's kind of where it's
the stuff
coming.
That's like,
that's what's next.
That can really, like, help you stand out, you know?
Yeah.
A video is much bigger than, like, a SoundCloud link, you know?
Absolutely.
I'll watch a music video before I click on a SoundCloud
link, you know? The visual helps.
Yeah.
Visual absolutely helps, especially if, like, you know, a SoundCloud link or a link anywhere, like the artwork, no matter how cool the artwork might be, if like you don't see the identity of the person in it, like, you know, seeing just the identity and the appearance of the artist definitely changes it.
Yeah.
And even a music video that doesn't have the artist in it can be dope anyway in its own right. But so that was really the idea So as far as what's next, like, definitely gonna get some music videos going for this album. See what other shows I can do to push it. I wasn't gonna do physical copies because who listens to CDs anymore?
Yeah.
But
I need to connect you with Dana. He'll do some crazy edits.
Yeah, dude, I would love it, man. I'll tell you, I've really been blessed to have a lot of people either reach out directly or reference a friend or a coworker who heard my stuff and wants to do a video. So if you're watching or you know that person, let them know I am absolutely interested, and I'm trying to make as many music videos as I can, because that's definitely the next step. And that's what's next, man. I got a potential idea to do a second album this year. Nothing crazy. I don't really want to give away all the details yet, but just a couple songs. Songs, but something. There will be another Korey Costa drop in 2018. I don't know exactly what it'll look like or what it'll sound like, but that is happening.
Is Autobahn 2 coming at some point?
Autobahn 2 will inevitably happen. I think it's going to be... Man, I had so many funny ideas for album titles, like Reloaded or like Fueled Up or like something corny.
Yeah.
But like, man, Not Mineral is such a talented individual, and like, it's inevitable that like he actually recorded half of Skyward Spiral. I should mention that. Consuetti produced and mixed the whole thing, but as far as recording just raw vocals, 6 out of the 12, so yeah, half was recorded with Non Mineral, and like, so that's always the homie. And Autobahn 2 is a surefire thing. It's just when and where to sit down and make it possible. But Autobahn 2, yes, absolutely.
All right, fire. And do you have any last shout-outs, promo you want to do?
Yo, shout-outs. Thank you, everyone, for watching / listening. If you're watching, I got the Trap Bang tee on. Oh, the video just dropped. You wouldn't believe that. The camera just turned off as I lifted my shirt.
All right.
So,
well, actually,
you'll know.
So I wanted to...
That's so funny, dude.
I wanted to do a freestyle, and I knew the camera was going to die.
Yeah.
Is your cell phone good? Like, how's your camera on your cell phone? Is it like...
It's not bad. We could probably do that, yeah.
Mine's not great, so I might do a little, like...
Yeah, no, we can do that.
Freestyle?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I sound warm. Now I can actually hear myself through this. Yo, hip-hop made me do it. Skyward Spiral, out now. Shout out Trap Bang. Shout out Hip Hop Made Me Do It. DJ Toasty Z. That's how we get down. Over a Wu-Tang beat right now. Yeah. Wu-Tang tight beat, y'all don't even like me, y'all just hype beasts. I'm in my Adidas, I'm trying to beat us. You could not believe this when you hear this, when I speak it through your speakers. Really, I be acting like a freak, I'm such a creature. Used to always be at basketball games in the bleachers. Then I used to write them silly raps about my teachers. You would not believe it when I'm coming up and everybody's running up and wondering if I'm coming, but everybody's suffering. Man, I'm not even making sense, I'm taking rent. I'm the landlord, damn core. How many people you got plans for? None of them, except myself. I love myself, I help myself, I just excel. I'm dumb as hell, I'm lifting dumbbells above my head, way above hell. I'm like 6 feet up, used to be 6 feet deep. You can't speak with me because we on a different frequency. Y'all don't even understand what that means to me. What it means to be me is something I'm becoming. Every time I'm running up in the sky, I will jump out and let me just recalibrate. Remember 2014 when I graduated, and now I was just a stupid kid. And wait, I still am, I mean I still is. I'm about my business and all my finesse, and I pull up with the best. You ain't ready for it yet, man. Y'all ain't even got the skills to possess that same thing. You speaking with the illest, he the best. Man, I got skills in my chest, and I'm bigging up my chest. Who's next? It's about who's now, and I'm here right now. 12 tracks on SoundCloud. Who the clown now? Who you wanna rap about right now? Couldn't tell what could happen. Wait. Thinking about something different. Thinking about pumping physics through your heads just to realize the distance. For instance, you don't understand all the inches between me and the old me. Didn't know me, thought I did, but I really didn't. I was phony, baloney, all that lunch meat can't punch me. All these other rappers rugby, they can't touch me. His 2-hand touch when the man stand up can't tackle me down. I'm doper than you and your whole faculty now. I'm like a pterodactyl, just man, tackling you down. I haven't freestyled in a minute, but really I'm just ill enough to be spitting up everything that you thinking of. Maybe I don't drink enough, maybe I got too much anxiety. Who the man trying to be? I'm just trying to be me, son. You can't understand who the heck I'm about to become. See the way that I censor, it's kind of funny. Shout out to Spencer, I think I owe him money. He did the album cover, that's my brother forever, and I love him. It's clever, whatever. It really doesn't matter where I come from. If I'm dumb, you could never understand that I love one. I mean, one love like Marley. It's hardly the same thing when I come to party, because the vibe changed. But it's crazy the way that I make it vibrate. I'm in a different climate, I mean climate. I'm going to the highest, you couldn't understand why I buy this. I cop it, you can't stop it. I'm flyer than a rocket, that's so basic. I'm so wasted, no I'm not, I'm sober. It ain't over, you can't understand that there's no closure until you know that the door is closed first. Everything you gotta do, full exposure, full disclosure. I get a little crazy sometimes, stuck in my mind. I used to be a baby, but I grew up just a little. Threw up just a little on my shirt, now I'm stuck in the middle. But I knew what I was gonna be since Uka, Aka, Aku. No one can stop me or stop you. Hi dude, can I read another haiku just to redefine you? When I see the fine view, the beat's changing, but this kid stays the same and he remains the same kid. That's just amazing. I can't understand the way that I maintain through all these different arrangements. Let's see if when this beat drops, I'll be on the beat drop. I'm probably not, but I still got this. Everybody wanna try this, that's fine. I cannot dismiss the way I feel. The people that I love, all the people that could understand it, never be enough. Let me just say that one day I'ma grow amongst the greatest, and if I don't, I'm at least to be up there with all the latest. Understand that I will demonstrate it. Why does every rapper freestyle and say the word understand so often? Understand that I wish I was another man. Now I'm happy that I'm me. Understand that I just grew up funny. That's just 973, so heavenly divine. That's where I wanna reside till I get there. I'm just east side, yeah, Jersey reppin' till I'm present, till I'm going up to heaven. I don't talk about depression unless I'm ready to teach a lesson. And if I'm not, I keep my mouth shut. I'ma keep on going till my house up there where I will be. I just know that sounds silly. I'm not concerned about making a milli. I don't really think you feel me. There's no Milli Vanilli, not the white Pharrell, but you know I'm tight as hell. Everything I write is well, pretty immaculate, but I just remain passionate. And all the times I'm acting, you would think I was an actor, but I never really passed the dish. What does that mean? How's it happen if you weren't ready? I'm just rapping it exactly how I'm supposed to. You know I'm all about the culture. Too many vultures just coming in and trying to choke you like a python or cobra. I wrote this with a Ticonderoga. When my time is over, I won't even worry, not in a hurry. And even when the faces get blurry, I just clear my vision. You can't hear my mission because your ears are listening to bullshit. Yeah, it's Korey Costa. You would not believe all of the things in my mind, but it's funny, man. It's probably about that time. I'ma have to come up with another couple rhymes, and I'm going off the top like I'm at the coffee shop at the Starbucks. Where you are, bruh, be who you are, bruh. Don't worry about nobody else. You can't change a single thing but yourself. Skyward spiral, yeah. Ayy. Change a couple things, but you can change a thing.
Oh, yeah,
change a thing but yourself. Skyward spiral, yeah. I'm just playing now. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore.
I thought you were gonna stop like a minute ago.
My man's hands are tired. Hey, hip hop made me do it. We're here. Thank you.
Gang, gang.
Hey.
TFC, Korey Costa. You already know what the fuck it is.
You already know. Now you know. Yeah. But I'm not a naive guy since 95, no lie, somebody trying to snag my spot. Wiley Coyote, don't approach me, shout out to DJ Toasty Z. Now Massachusetts notice me, skyward spiral, when I die you'll have to use a rotary. Rapper slash producer that refused to go to sleep, R.I.P. the older me, got me feeling brand new.